Now that we've talked about consumer surplus and producer surplus, we can talk about total surplus, which is the combination of the two. Total surplus is a measure of the combined benefits that everyone receives from participating in an exchange of goods or services. So in our market here, we have 3 people who are purchasing a ride to Paris and 3 people who are willing to sell or supplying a ride to Paris. We have Jason Bourne, who is receiving this amount of consumer surplus. We have the wanted man in Brussels, who would be receiving this amount of consumer surplus. And the person whose cars broke down will be getting this amount of consumer surplus. We have an Uber driver, a person who picks up hitchhikers, and someone who's in need of cash right now, who are all giving rides, and they get this amount of producer surplus. So we add the consumer surplus and the producer surplus together, we get total surplus. We can actually add up all of these individually using a demand schedule and a supply schedule again. If we look here, we can look at who's in the market at each price and how much consumer and producer surplus they would be getting. So we set the price at $4,000. We can actually fill this out. Our first individual at a price of $4,000 gets $10,000 minus $4,000 or $6,000. Our second individual is going to get this $7,500 minus $4,000 or $3,500, and then this last individual is going to get their $5,000 minus $4,000 or $1,000. If you add all those together, we get $10,500. That's our consumer surplus when the price is $4,000, and our quantity demanded will be 3. At a price of $4,000, we can also do the same thing for our producer surplus. Add up all of these, and we'll get that our producer surplus is $7,500. So what is our total surplus if the price is $4,000? Well, we just have to add up our consumer surplus and our producer surplus. So our consumer surplus was $10,500. Our producer surplus is $7,500. So $10,500 plus $7,500 is going to give us $18,000. And that's our total surplus. If a market is large, then the supply and demand curves become linear. If we look at the market for child actors, we can see that the consumers and producers both have surplus in this market. So here's a clip from the movie Just Go With It, where Adam Sandler is negotiating with one of the child actors he is paying to pretend to be his daughter.
I'm just saying, telling the truth is not in the cards right now. I thought you'd be excited to have an acting job.
If it's an acting job, we should get paid.
Yeah, you're gonna get paid in experience.
I want to actually get paid.
All right, what do you want?
$600 for the day, plus overtime if we go over 8 hours. I'll do my own hair and makeup, and I want you to pay for the 6-week intensive acting camp that my mom can't afford.
$50 for the day and a 2-week acting class at the YMCA nearest you.
$500 and a 4-week acting class.
$300 and a 3-week class.
Done.
I would have done it for $500.
I would have done it for the experience.
So in that clip, Danny and Maggie agree on a price of $300 for her to continue to pretend to be his daughter. And we can look and we can actually calculate Danny's consumer surplus and Maggie's producer surplus from this exchange. So Danny was willing to pay Maggie $500. How much consumer surplus has he received? You can pause the video if you want to think about it. $200, right? He was willing to pay $500, so Danny would be this individual on our demand curve, and he paid $300. That's the going rate in this market. So his consumer surplus is $200. Anyone willing to pay more than $300 is going to receive some consumer surplus, and they'll be in the market in our triangle here, right? So what is the value of our total consumer surplus? Well, consumer surplus is going to be 1/2 our max willingness to pay minus the price times the quantity that is sold. So if we plug in the numbers here, our max willingness to pay is $600, our price is $300, and our quantity is 3. We just want the area of this triangle, right? So 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 600 minus 300 times 3 is going to give us 450. And that's our consumer surplus for the entire market. How much producer surplus does Maggie get if she was willing to sell for $0? Well, Maggie's willing to sell for $0 right here, and she sold for $300, so her producer surplus would be $300. Anyone willing to sell for less than $300 is going to receive producer surplus, and we can see that in this blue triangle right here is our total producer surplus. So what is the total value of producer surplus in this market? Remember, producer surplus is 1/2 price minus the minimum willingness to sell times quantity, right? So we're just getting the area of this blue triangle. So you can pause this video if you would like to solve it yourself and check your answer. The answer again is 450, right? Producer surplus is 1/2 300 minus 0 times 3, right? Our minimum willingness to sell was 0, so 300 minus 0 times 3, because our quantity is 3, which gives us 450.